Okay, I'd like to call this beginning Fire Board of Appeals meeting to order on September 17th. I will do the agenda until we elect a chair and a chairperson as the chair of the Fire Board. Could we have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Beckman?
Here.
Verplank?
Here.
And Miller?
Here.
Okay, we would request that everybody turn off their cell phone, put them away, not text during the meeting. We have approval of the agenda, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Approval of the minutes. We have no minutes. We have no unfinished business, as we have not begun yet. So new business. We will first elect a chair and a vice chair. Could I have nomination for, do you want to do this together or separate?
No, I can do it. I don't know. I was going to elect Aaron as the chair.
It's fine by me. And I second that.
Okay,
So I vote for
motion by Beckman. Second by Verplank. Okay. To appoint Aaron as chair.
Okay with you, Aaron? So all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. Okay, now vice chair. I'd like to nominate Eric Beckman to be the vice chair.
Second.
Do I have to accept it?
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Now I will turn this meeting over to Aaron.
Okay. So discussion and adoption of the rules of procedure. So I think what we have, a red line version,
And a final.
and the red line, just so I'm clear, these were red lines based on an original proposal from
Township.
somebody from the township.
I think that was just suggested from the township, wasn't it? And just kind of a...
Okay. And then we have a amended version from the red line, which is not red line.
Right.
Do we know what changed in this version?
Yeah, we do. One of the big things is the order of business. There'll be a presentation by the applicant. It's number 14.
Mm-hmm.
A presentation by the applicant will be first, and then the fire code official will answer. It was the other way around in the red line version, which didn't really make much sense. And then there was just a lot of extra stuff in the red line version that wasn't really necessary.
I think originally they took that from their code, their building code, kind of, and just sent it over and said, here's the guidelines, knowing that we were going to butcher it up anyway and you know, make it ours. So.
And there was something in here about a perceived conflict of interest. Either there's a conflict of interest or there isn't a conflict of interest. Perceived isn't really.
Yeah, I read all the red line comments and they all make sense to me.
Right.
Do you have any questions, concerns on the red line version here?
No.
So I just wanted to make sure I was clear on what changed in this version.
Right.
So I think when I had emailed him, I had asked about application fees and how we make that uniform, but it looks like we're doing that
Right.
Under D on the agenda.
under D. And then I asked about open hearing, what that meant, so if he clarified, that's simply just opening the hearing. That when it's just an open hearing, I wasn't clear if that was an open comment period. Otherwise, it all looks pretty much the same as the red line version.
Right. So I'll make a motion that we adopt the rules of procedure for the Saugatuck Township Fire District Board of Appeals.
I'll second.
All right, so there's been a motion to adopt the rules of procedure. We do roll call vote?
Sure. Do you want me to I'll just reference this document number in her motion when I type it up. Is that
Sure.
fair? Beckman?
Yes.
And Miller?
Yes.
Okay.
Next on the agenda is item C, discussion and adoption of the application form for appeals to the Board of Appeals. So that's this. And where does this come from?
Later, from other fire department boards.
It's, if I may, Mr. Chair, the 3 boxes kind of mirror the fire code specifics on the language. We saw a lot of versions online, and some of them didn't reference that, so we tried to stick with the language from the code itself.
I believe this one would be different than what builders filled out through the township, right?
Is this different than
Their original application did not have those 3 boxes, and the more I looked into it, it was required. But I think their second version did have the
Correct.
boxes.
Correct.
So I don't know if that's been cleared up with you guys. As long as we have the correct application, we can move forward. So,
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adopt the application form for the Board of Appeals.
I'll second.
Okay, do we have any discussion on that?
Nope, I'm good.
I guess I do have a question. Is this only for cases, so this is International Fire Code Board of Appeals, so are there cases where someone in one of our jurisdictions would want to appeal not on the basis of IFC?
Well, we would have jurisdiction. Our enforcement authority is within the IFC. We don't enforce the building code or the residential code per se, so that would be a different appeal process.
Okay.
So this would be related to the 2015 fire code.
Okay, so any issue that we're making a decision based on IFC requirements or...
We
code-
can, by code, reference those other ordinances within IFC. We can do that, but we wouldn't accept an appeal based on another code, a zoning code, for example, or that's not within our scope.
Okay.
So
Makes
when
sense?
somebody's appealing a cost recovery, that would be a different,
That's a different, that would come to the fire board
Okay.
by ordinance.
Okay. So everything uncovered by IFC comes through this process?
Craig, just out of curiosity, how often do they adopt the editions? I mean, this says 2015 edition, we're 2018. Are we always 3 years
Yes.
behind?
Always behind. Every 3 years, to answer your question, the
Okay.
code is revisited and revised. Sometimes those codes are hung up, like the building code was hung up because it was held up in Lansing for certain things. So that's why they always seem to be behind. I know one jurisdiction right now that's adopting the 18 code.
Okay.
Any other discussion on this then? Roll call vote, please.
Sure, so that was, Verplank,
yes.
Beckman?
Yes.
And Miller?
Yes.
Okay.
Next on the agenda is discussion and adoption of a fee structure for the Board of Appeals. Do we have anything proposed for a fee structure?
I did speak with our attorney, and he thought that the $400 fee structure that the township presented was a good one, was reasonable, and I think this board, with a member from each jurisdiction, can adopt whatever fee schedule we want. So I would say that I would go along with the $400 fee schedule because the attorney says that that's a good number and it should cover some of the expense.
Do the jurisdictions actually need to adopt that, or the Board of Appeals adopt that?
I think the Board of Appeals and the Fire Board, this is our board, it's not a jurisdiction board. So I think we need to set the fee schedule and adopt it. The whole board should adopt the fee schedule, like we do every year for all the fees we charge.
Okay.
But as far as like collection, would the township or the cities collect that, or
No,
would
fire
it come right
department
here?
needs to collect those
Okay.
fees. It's our ward.
So do we need a motion to adopt officially the $400 fee?
I'll make a motion to officially adopt the $400 fee
And I'll second that.
$400 per application.
per application.
Any other discussion on that?
I think that's a good number. I mean, if it's too low, everyone's gonna appeal everything. If it's too high, you kind of,
Then it's,
then you're going the other way, and
Right.
so I
I think
think
it's
it's a fair number, so.
Second by per plane, okay?
Mhm.
Okay. Roll call,
Yes, a roll call vote.
okay. Vote Beckman?
Yes.
Per plane?
yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to,
Scheduling the hearing. So what was are we actually supposed to schedule the hearing at this point?
we did a round robin thing and decided that September, what is it, the 16th?
19th.
19th. At 6 PM on Wednesday is the only time that all of us can be together to do it. So-
And we are doing that because it has to be done in that time frame.
Yes.
And when did that clock start ticking?
Well, our attorney said the clock started ticking when he received a complete application, or we received a complete application.
But the application was never approved by this board.
Correct.
How in the heck can it start the clock ticking? They want to sign it now, then we have 10 days, right? I do work, so do you, so do you. I mean, just because the township said, here, you do this, doesn't mean that wasn't this board
That's correct.
of appeals. So I have a little bit of a problem with that.
Does September 19th at 6 PM work for everyone on this board?
Yeah, in my spare time, I guess I can make that work. I mean, people have to understand, you have a full-time job, I have a full-time job, travel quite a bit, you run a business. I'll be honest with you, I'm a little upset at the township for accepting the application, and it's my township that did it.
Yep.
And I've had multiple discussions that this isn't a township-driven, we don't answer to the township. This is a fire district. We answer to all three. So this has to be set up as a district, not just the township, not just the city. So, I mean, I'll be more than happy to come Wednesday. Oh, with me. I got a lot of hot air, but not there. I'll be more than happy to come Wednesday, but
We also had not received the fee.
and we probably should have never received the fee because we didn't set the fee. So for them just to give $400 to the township was pie in the sky as far as, we could have changed the fee.
That's true.
We could have put it to $4,000. We could do whatever we want.
It's an awkward position, may I?
Yes.
It's an awkward position at best, because you do have one jurisdiction that is trying to fast track and get this in, and then you have all the dynamics of people's schedules, and this isn't all that we do.
Right.
So you have that mix, so you're trying to have an element of accommodation and sensitivity to one another, yet you get dictated to, so it's a balance. And you try to figure out what's everybody agreeable with. Well, the $400 fee, we were agreeable. When's everybody available? Well, arbitrarily, Wednesday night at 6. But yeah, I feel like you do, but there was a lot of push.
I mean, like I said, we all kind of agreed on Wednesday. I could be here, that's fine.
Do we know if the applicant can be here Wednesday at 6?
From my understanding from our attorney that they communicated together and yes, that worked, but that was just what our attorney said.
Does Wednesday at 6 work?
Yes.
What was that, James?
Yes.
So is that a motion?
So, yeah, do we need a motion to schedule the hearing for Build SB LLC appeal for Wednesday, September 19th at 6 PM?
I'll make a motion to do that, or, is it a motion, or is it, let's set the, do we need to set it? No, we just,
We speak by
we
motion.
set it, yeah.
Yeah, we speak by motion.
Right.
Motion.
You made a motion, I'll second it.
And And that's here, right?
Yeah.
Any other further discussion on that?
I guess one of the questions I had, and I haven't gone through it, thought I saw it somewhere, is how many days after we receive the application and the fee do we have to hear a hearing? Greg, do you happen to know that? Is it 10 or?
10 days.
10 days?
Yeah.
But can we
Schedule-
modify that?
Schedule a hearing.
Because sometimes that's impossible.
No, Chris, I mean, I know Chris isn't involved, but he's on a vacation for, 2 weeks or whatever. I mean, it happens in the summer.
Quite frankly, that is one of the things that, in my opinion, should be modified, okay? Because it is referenced, it is an unrealistic timeframe.
Especially when you're asking quote-unquote lay people who are volunteering their time.
Well, all the dynamics change. If we have one fire, we're not gonna be here.
Exactly.
We will not be here.
Right.
We don't have the option of calling in, Grand Rapids. So that's one of the things that we struggle with, was the time frame, and that was a hard.
I mean, I know you don't want, a builder, a developer wants to get moving, and you don't want to string them out
Right.
forever, and I think in good faith, you want to do it
Right.
as relatively as quick as possible, but like I said, 3 people, full-time jobs, families,
Greg and Chris were gone all last week.
right?
And the 6 o'clock is after my normal work hours too. My wife doesn't appreciate me being here either, but, it is what it is. That's what part of the
Yeah,
job. A1017, okay, in the appendix, is 10 days after the notice of appeal, and everyone struggled with that, and in retrospect, I'm sorry, it was in there, I didn't write it. But it needs to be modified, but has to go back to the jurisdictions. And that's actually the ordinance, not the rules of procedure.
Well, it also doesn't say business days.
As I understood it from our attorney, though, that just means you have to hold a meeting. It doesn't mean you have to hold a hearing. That you could hold a meeting, say, okay, now we're going to set a date for the hearing, was my interpretation of what you
It
said.
says the board shall meet.
Right. It doesn't say that you have to meet to discuss that particular project.
I actually like Greg's
Okay.
comment there about business days,
Yeah, no, right.
Yeah.
because then that's really 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is sufficient, one or the other weeks, we usually get 3 of us could figure out a time, but
Yeah,
just,
that
I'm not coming here on
Wednesday time was
Saturday.
the only
Yeah.
time. It was the only time that the 3 of us could be here.
I'm not coming here on the weekends. I don't get paid to do this.
Yeah,
Thank
trust
you.
me, I know.
But I think maybe we need to change our
So we
Board of
have to-
Appeals bylaws to name business days.
In looking at a lot of others, when I was looking for this application form, many of them were either 30 or 45 days from the time of application to the time of meeting too. So I don't know if that's something to consider, that it gives you that time. Again, like you said, you don't want to extend them out that far, but to realistically get this many people together for a meeting.
But I think,
This is new to us, so I think we can do the Wednesday with these guys and hear, but moving forward, I think we need to look at that and maybe we make some changes.
we were with 400 fire inspectors and marshals last week, and we asked everybody, we asked local, we asked Holland, South Haven, and they have not got a Board of Appeals process for the fire code. South Haven's last appeal was 11 years ago. The one in Holland went to the Construction Board of Appeals. That's their appeal process. So it's not a common thing. There's not a lot of people to ask on timeframes, but I think actually the code in this instance is poorly worded, and that the timeframe is unrealistic.
It sounds like it's not clear on whether it's business days, and it's also not clear whether that's actually the hearing.
It just says they shall meet. Shall meet.
Yeah, it doesn't say that.
So, it's not fair to them, it's not fair to anybody.
Right.
But
even if you meet, you have to post it in 48 hours and everything else, so that's
Well, it's very restrictive for us, you know, very restrictive for us, because we aren't sitting behind a desk.
Right.
You know, and we have to take into account your schedules, and this doesn't.
Right.
So should we tack that on to, maybe the beginning or end of our next board meeting is a revision to
Yeah, let's,
the meeting time, or meeting, the schedule?
Do you want to bring that to our fire board public, or fire board comments? In the regular fire board meeting, yeah, then we can add it to the next agenda.
I think it should be at the fire board level
Yeah.
discussed.
Yeah.
First, see how they feel about it, the other members.
They don't have to live with 10 days either.
Right, right.
Still gotta open a motion on it.
yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do, that's true. Right.
Okay.
All right, so the open motion is to schedule the hearing for the 19th at 6 p.m. Just a voice vote?
Oh, let's do a roll call.
Roll call vote.
All right, so Miller?
Yes.
Beckman?
Yes.
And Verplank?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, public comment? Is there anyone who would like to make a public comment?
Carl Gabriels, attorney on behalf of Bill SB, the applicant. With the scheduling of it on the 19th at 6, which you had asked me earlier during your discussions, and that works for us. I don't have any other input other than to say I appreciate the situation you guys are in, where there's this new ordinance adopted and you're trying to put this all together with a deadline that is rather short. But if we can have it on the 6th, on the 19th at 6, we have no issues with that and look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.
All right, any Board of Appeal member comments? Eric?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, there's a lot of unknowns here. From what I do know is just we have the meeting, we hear the appeals, in the process we have it. There's not a judgment that needs to be made at that time. Is there a time frame we need to come up with an answer, so to speak? And then is it a definitive answer, and can it be suggestions? You know, this is new to me.
Limitations on authority and application, may I? 108.2, limitations on authority, this is Board of Appeals and applications. For appeals shall be based on a claim that the intent of this code or the rules legally adopted hereunder have been incorrectly interpreted, the provisions of this code do not fully apply, or an equivalent method of protection or safety is proposed. The board shall not have the authority to waive requirements of this code. So it doesn't really define if you're making a recommendation. I think what it is going to be is a roll call vote on if you feel that the appeal is substantiated or not. That's the way I see it happening.
I believe there'll be our representative attorney here present at the meeting on Wednesday as well that could probably better answer some of those questions for you too.
Well, when I read an equivalent method of protection or safety is proposed, that sounds like they're coming to us and they checked that box, and they want us to look at that also. That's not something we're gonna make any recommendations.
Correct.
Do we know what box, was that box checked
I
on the
don't-
official application?
No, I believe the box that was checked was it was misinterpreted.
Okay.
The reference to the codes was misinterpreted according to the appeal application.
Who has that application? The township?
We've got,
You have it?
I think it was forwarded to us. I haven't actually seen it either.
I might have it too, now that I think about it.
Did we get that ahead of time, ahead of the
Oh,
meeting?
you got one.
I might, oh, I gotta see.
That is not, if you foreseen the application.
I have not seen it either.
well, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna send that out once this meeting can
With an agenda packet
convene.
for Wednesday.
You know, it would seem like it was inappropriate to go out before
I do not have
the
a-
appeal board even met.
Right.
We thought that was, I thought it was very inappropriate.
Officially, so the outcome either needs to be the appeal is substantiated or it's not. But realistically, we could also have another solution that comes forward, right?
Another way.
Another solution to the problem that
Yes,
we're
sir.
trying to solve.
Yes, sir. Yes. And alternative means, for example, what's alternative means? Sprinkling, or take a project that we did we couldn't build the road was, they could not build the road was wide enough. So one of the suggestions was reduce the road width if you in turn do this, which was sprinkling. They did. So instead of 20-foot roads, they were 16-foot roads. So there are some acceptable solutions.
Okay, so you guys,
I guess my next question is is there any kind of teeth to this thing? I mean, except the fact that you don't sign off on it unless we come up with a solution. You know what I mean, or does it just go to they're just gonna run to the judge anyway if we go in favor of what we see? Or, you know, what are you gonna do if we in favor of them, you know, is this?
I guess the way I see that is I use my professional opinion and my experience and my licensing and certification to come to a conclusion. There are others that dispute that. If this Board of Appeals wants to sign off on that, that's up to you guys.
I think your question is, if we deny the appeal, what's the next step for that? That's the question.
Basically, I just wonder what kind of teeth we have in any kind of authority. I mean, if we rule one way or the other, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
Any other comments here?
Pardon?
Any other comments?
No.
Jamie?
I think this went well, and I think we have a good understanding of where we stand and what we need to do next, so.
Yep.
Perfect. So with the chief is ex officio member,
Yes.
so do I ask comments from the chief as an ex officio member? Or how does that?
It's your meeting.
Well, then, yes, I would like to ask some comments.
I think that this is the proper way to do this. I wish it wasn't so rushed. Again, there wasn't a lot of input from other neighboring communities on this. Everybody Googles it, searches it. We actually talked to dozens of people. Well, we don't have a field out there. Well, but what if you do? What do you do? There has to be an avenue for that. And I think that the way you handle it, the fire district attorney, nobody else, the fire district attorney is the one who has to set some items in place, not individuals, and I just think that that has to be acknowledged and it has to be followed. As Eric said at the beginning with, this is a fire district. It's not subject to city's department or Douglas's or the township. And that has been the major hurdle and challenge in the dynamics of this. So I applaud the BOA for at least having rules in place and taking the time to go through that. The form, we developed the form, but again, some things were introduced that all it did is just make it a little more difficult and challenging to keep up with all the information that's put in. Talk about infobesity, it's challenging.
What attorney's gonna be here? Our insurance attorney or the fire district's attorney? And come to someone about an insurance.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fire district attorney.
Jeff will be here.
Well, hopefully we don't have to, actually have these meetings very often.
Yeah.
But I do agree that we have a good set of rules in place, and we'll get started on Wednesday. Any other comments?
No, sir.
Nope.
We are adjourned.
Awesome.